Oh, buddy. Okay. RTA Radio is here, y'all. I'm back. Jackie Kerouac, RTA Radio. Okay. RTA Radio is here, y'all. I'm back. Jackie Kerouac, RTA What's Radio. What's happening right now?
There's some echo, but it's not on my end. So we'll have to figure it out.
What's happening right now?
There's some echo, not on my end. So. Are your speakers on, Jackie?
I don't know where that's coming from.
Do you have headphones in?
I don't have any headphones in, but maybe I should, yeah?
That might help. Do you have headphones in?
I don't have any headphones in, but maybe I should, yeah? Who am I talking to right now? Mr. Producer, I need help.
Oh, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to figure out where the echo's coming from.
It might be at her end. Or someone else that somehow.
I'm trying to figure out. Someone's got a mic and a speaker.
What about now?
Okay, we have no echo on Rex's end. Hey Rex, do you see a thing below you that says mute your mic?
I have a mic.
Yeah, let's me and you both mute and see if Jack.
I don't hear anybody now, but I am currently not muted.
And you were not echoing.
I don't hear anybody now. It's me.
Jack, it's you.
Not muted.
See your mic settings below your name where it says down on your panel where it says settings. You can choose your microphone. You might have two mics on. Now we can't hear you at all.
Let's test some echo right now and see if there's any.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Brian. How are you?
Hey, Brian. This is just a test, so we're just seeing.
Yeah, this is echoing. Yeah, it is. Okay, not at all. I'm not echoing, and you're not echoing,
okay,
so it's definitely on.
If she puts headphones on, that should solve it. But like you said, maybe the software is just not catching a glitch somewhere where there's two.
It's echo gated on all of them too. Yeah, if there's two mics, that's the only way it won't catch it. It'll usually catch reverb. So let's see. Jackie, can you hear us? If you can hear us, I think headphones will solve your issue. Do you have a pair? Okay, let's put her back and see.
Do you have a pair?
Hey, Jackie, unmute yourself. Oh, she's using one of those mics. Yeah, sometimes that can be a problem. Unmute yourself, Jackie. Okay, now let's try. Now we have no audio. Oh, no.
We will get audio.
I can't.
Oh, there you go.
I can hear you.
I'm hearing everything everybody's saying twice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Okay,
maybe she's got it open in two windows.
You have two windows. Throw yourself completely out. I'm going to throw you out on this end. Sign back in. And just make sure that you only have one
tab, one window.
One window. Nothing else. No email, no Gmail, no Telegram.
That might work.
Yeah. This is a pretty heavy program to run with anything else. It just doesn't play nice. And that's her very first shot at doing it on the other end. Nah, it's
This is
great.
fine.
That's what I was
Yeah,
like.
it
This
is.
is we're
Did
really
you
just
say your name
building
is
a.
Brian?
I'm Brian. Nice to meet you,
Brian,
Rex.
okay. Good to meet you, Brian. I'll try and remember that.
Yeah,
Cool
right
little
on, right on.
cool things you got behind you. Can
Uh,
someone what do they call it? Fuzz the background on me? Maybe I can control it.
I think you can control. Do you have a thing on the bottom that says settings
Yeah.
on your? Yeah, yeah, and you
Camera.
can also stream it to any of your properties if you want. But I've never been on that end as a guest yet to see the panel available.
It does not give me
that faded background. It's in here. I'll tell you where it's at. It's under settings, virtual
my settings
background.
camera doesn't. I've only got 2 settings on that. It's settings
Oh,
and
here.
camera.
Guests, play sound. I'm just seeing if I can allow you to do other stuff.
Or maybe you can turn on a background for me. Just to
Turn on a background for you. Yeah, it's not in the guests. Okay, in the background, virtual backgrounds. I have a green screen. Blah blah blah. Okay, that's for. Well, let's just try. Don't have a green screen. Blur. Okay, it's turning on the blurring.
It worked for
But
yours.
That just blurred me. Let's see if I can click on. Oh, remove you from the stream. Can I mess with you? I can edit your mic settings from here. There.
No blur.
No blur.
That's okay.
And you don't have a thing that says settings on the bottom of your panel.
Well,
So
I'm
that
on
just
my
means
iPhone. If it says if I click
Yeah,
more,
yeah,
then it says
right.
stream
No,
this
my
to
iPhone's
audience or comments or
yeah.
settings. When I click settings, it has camera or audio. When I click camera, it does not give me a blur option. It just says front
It's
camera,
not
back camera, mirror.
It's not in that camera settings, audio settings one. It's in a separate one that says background settings, but it's only on this it's only on the laptop. All right.
That
Well,
makes
that's
sense.
it. Oh, okay. Here we go. I bet let's see.
Like, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me just one time?
so far.
Okay.
Yay, Jackie's back.
I had to restart my computer, guys.
Her
You don't even
clone is
understand.
not following her anymore.
Okay,
Like,
3, 2, 1.
I had to
RtA
shut
Radio is on.
everything down. Oh my gosh. Okay. What a nightmare. Well, hi guys.
Awesome.
I'm back for real now. Sorry for that. Thank you for your patience. It was really weird. I shut everything down on the computer and it was still showing me that, or it was still listening to the podcast, even though everything on the computer was closed. I Control Alt deleted and there was nothing happening, but I was still listening to the podcast. So I had to restart the whole computer and now I'm back. Okay. I am joined by a really rad guy named Rex, who's got a whole bunch of stuff that he wants to talk about. And I really want to learn about Witch because I just got just enough information just to kind of whet my palate, but I want some more.
I heard you say you wanted to learn about, and then I didn't hear what you said. You want to learn about We Church. Okay, cool.
We Church.
All right, so I think I can go through this fast enough, but I have so much that you can ask questions. If anyone's interested in anything specific, you can get me going on many different trails that are self-paved, we'll say, me and God, we'll call it. So this is content that some people say put in 10,000 hours and then you get to be an expert at something. But yeah, this is me on my own with me and whatever you want to call spirit God or yourself, or really, I believe I am God in that sense. So it's all there. Okay. But basically meditation and thinking about things. I'm a bit of a philosopher. I did engineering in school and then I didn't do engineering after because I wanted to do something meaningful. And for me, meaning was more important than happiness or anything else, which kind of sucks for a life, but it's the one I choose. So let's go to out of college. I had direction in my life until I got to finish graduated college, and I had wanted to, some people call him a bleeding heart, someone maybe Californian that wants to just save the world and do great things. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to contribute in some way. And then I got kind of dismantled. My entire desire for that got dismantled by reading some books about futurism, and Ray Kurzweil and Peter Diamandis talking about computing and AI and different things that are happening technologically that kind of made a lot of the things I wanted to do a little bit obsolete. Not in the moment, but 20 years down the road, if I just don't exist and I just die, then those problems still get solved. So I'm like, I don't want to work on those problems. So it took me 5 years to find a problem that I thought was worth working on. The nature of this problem is one that technology is actually exacerbating the problem instead of fixing it. So that's a good problem to work on if technology is going to keep going and getting more and more strong. And it also correlates with this genre of audience because it relates with after you free yourself from the plantation. Once you're free from the plantation, however that happens, people say it's a mental game. Some people think financial freedom is going to get them the freedom they need. I see evidence against that and evidence for that. So when I see somebody that's still a slave and they're rich as fuck, I'm like, oh, sorry. Are we allowed to curse, Jackie? Cool. All right.
I hope so, because I do a lot.
Okay, so someone that's rich as fuck, they can sometimes end up with cancer. They can end up with loved ones dying. That it's like, what's going on there, right? They had all the money. What, the money didn't serve them? They could end up in jail. They can end up with all these different problems that you would think if they'd made the right connections along the way, those problems wouldn't have happened. Or if they'd picked up the right knowledge along the way. And you'd think money solves all those problems, and it doesn't. So, but it can help. Anyway, freedom. I'm just trying to bring our minds to what freedom is and what it entails for after the plantation. That's what I'm going to call it. Once you get out of the plantation, you're free. Not because you broke out and there's people pursuing you, but you actually, got out and you're free. It feels amazing, and that feeling is great. And I wanted to build something for, like, let's say I know 40 people are going to climb the mountain and they're going to get to the top of the hiking trail. And I'm either already there or I've just put my mind there because I really want to do something meaningful for those people that make it to the top of the mountain, to the end of the hiking trail. And I'm the one up there that's prepared some, entertainment or a meal or some good sightseeing or whatever. I'm kind of a scout in the type of leadership that I have seen in my past of my own, that I've observed, I guess, about myself, meta thinking. So I'm like the first one there, but I'm not like the captain that brings everyone along. I'm like the guy that goes before the captain and messes up and gets hurt and dies or whatever. And then if it works out and I come back and say, hey, I found a really cool place, then we go there. Otherwise, I'm the lonely path, but it's also the one that I see myself doing in my past. And I hope that'll change. I hope that I'll be with a group eventually, a few hundred people and bouncing from planet to planet or whatever we do to explore the galaxy, the universe.
I love that. I love that it's a network of like a decentralized community, it sounds like, where a whole bunch of people can like really get autonomous together using that community stuff, places that people can feel comfortable from modern technology, but just a place that's just free from a lot of bullshit and just a place where you can just kind of go and live freely, which is, I think, the biggest dream, right?
Yeah, so that's awesome. So something similar to what I'm trying to do, or at least it looks similar in some aspects, is something called an intentional community. That's not what I'm doing, but partially because of my engineering background, I could kind of see that some problems you can't just solve for yourself. The internet, you can't just have the internet for yourself. It doesn't work if you don't have enough buy-in and participation.
Right.
So sorting a large data set of numbers, you can't sort all the numbers if you only got 2 numbers. It's like you're not going to get 50,000 of the same number if you've only got 2 numbers, right? And there's
Right.
already a million numbers, so you got to, if you want 50,000, you got to multiply 50,000 times a million and sort those so you can get 50,000 of the same number. So intentional communities are just a lot of work, and they're the hard way, and they're not extremely scalable because they're only solving the problem for one personality type or one
Right.
avatar type. I think that's a marketing term. So avatar. Anyway, one personality type. That doesn't work because now you've got to somehow convince a bunch of people that are like you, let's say, because assuming you want to be next to people that are like yourself, then you got to find those people and convince them to move toward where you are. It's a big ask, right? But if you're solving it for everyone, all you're trying to say is be mobile for a decade, hopefully, you know? If you're willing to be mobile for a decade and there's a system where you keep moving closer and closer to geographic locations where people are more and more compatible and in harmony and your soul tribe, right? Then in that case, then it works. So that's what I'm trying to do. But that comes out of the once you're free, what's next? And the freedom feels great. And then eventually you need people. People are the next thing after slavery. So after being free from slavery and freaking enjoying the fact that you're free, man, there's enough endorphins there for a few days. But once it wears off, then you need people. And how do you find those people? And that's the problem I've been solving in terms of me putting my awareness in the future, where I believe there's many, many, many people that are not bound by their basic needs because of automation and robotics is what it was at the beginning. That's kind of what threw me to say, well, let's go to that world where everyone has what they need, but then no one needs anybody anymore, so they don't need each other. They get this depression, they get this lack of meaning, they get all these things. And so I put myself there for about 5 years, for 3 to 5 years, you know, like I wasn't always depressed, but I mean, I put myself there where I didn't need things, and I didn't need, for my basic needs, I didn't need anybody.
I think we've all been there. I think that's probably what drives our compassion to want to create a community, and maybe not an intentional community, but a community nonetheless. And I think you're working out one of our hardest riddles, right? Like, where can we be autonomous and be self liberated and free individuals, but where can I also count on a community, either physically, temporarily, just passing through, or permanently? Like, how do I do both of those things? And you're like working out the math to that with your project. And I think that's outstanding.
And the math is this. So I want 10 million people because I think 1 in 100,000 is a pretty good division, you know. They call it binning in the engineering, but basically you're dividing people into groups. If you're getting 10,000 different, like let's say it was a color scale or a frequency spectrum, and you divided it by 10,000, then by the time you get 1/10,000th of the people that are most compatible with you, that's a pretty good group. And that gives you 100 people that have been sifted through, hopefully, if the algorithm is effective and executes properly. I'm not writing the algorithm. I know that the algorithm is not going to be a mathematical thing. It's more of an energetics thing. People
Sure.
that can read frequencies and things like that. But I'm a philosopher, so I appreciate those people, and I'm also a math dude from engineering. So I'm doing what I'm good at, and I know there's parts where I'm not going to be the forte. We're not going to put a math mind, an autistic math mind. Not that I'm autistic, but I probably am. But that we're not putting someone that has no emotion to a job that is highly energy based. It's energy work, the algorithm. So anyway, matching people. But as far as how we do it, we're trying to get 10 million people, and also I say that trying to get 10 million people. That's just the random goal that has come to mind since the beginning. But obviously, it should go further, and it might not get to 10 million in 15 years. That's okay. But what would happen if we had 10 million is you would live mobile. You would geographically move maybe every year or so, according to an algorithm, and you would not be forced to move. It would be incentive based. That it's got some freedom as well as incentives, which is they kind of counteract a little bit sometimes, but here we go. So the freedom in it is you put in your work or you buy someone else's labor, but basically it takes about 6 months of labor for someone to be fully vested and have pretty much, they can retire at that point. They have an unlimited access for life, beyond life too. They own it. It's like they own a wallet. It's not necessarily tied to their identity. It's just a wallet that they've filled with 6 months of their labor. With that wallet, it is filled with something that I call stake. We call it stake, just because it's crypto centric.
Sure.
And you have that stake can be at stake, like a deposit when you're reserving one of these units. So it is at stake. You don't want to mess up and destroy something while you're there. But what that stake does is you don't spend it. You earned it, and then it stays with you forever unless you fuck up and now you have to use it to pay for, something.
Okay.
What you spend is called points. So points is 1% per month. That's 12% interest per year on your stake. It's interest, but it's interest bearing. It gives you points. It doesn't give you stake. Points could be thought of as credits to stay in Airbnb or something like that. Timeshare-ish. I don't like timeshare because it's got a bad rep, but that's the only reason. It's been done wrong before,
Sure.
but done right, it's a great plan.
Yeah.
So what happens is your 6 months of labor creates at least one 4,000 square foot climate controlled greenhouse that is tall enough that an RV can fit inside it. So when you go to your community area, these will be spotted throughout the earth. They're not just going to be in one location. Throughout the earth, you'll be able to travel. You'll be able to just stay in these places and just reserve them like you would Airbnb. But this Airbnb would be like one where there's nobody else to compete with, so the prices go low. The reason no one else is to compete with is people can't just show up with money and get ahead of you in line.
Sure.
The only people that can reserve are people that have points. And to get points, you got to create or buy stake and then wait for it to generate points. So the price of rent stays relatively low, and the rent should always be covered by the amount of points you worked off because of how many we create, basically. And the stake is also at stake in a sense because every unit of stake is actually attached to a physical real estate asset, which is the greenhouse that you originally bought your stake from or built and converted to stake.
Okay.
So it would work kind of like, yeah, those are all semantics kind of, but ultimately you work for 6 months or you come to the community with 30 grand and you're like, sweet, here's 30 grand. I don't want to work. Okay, fine. Or you do a combination of the two. You put in 6 months of labor. You have earned the stake because you actually helped create 3 greenhouses by that point, and then the other 2 are sold off because we need to pay for land and materials. But Also, the construction process, I'm making it easier and simple because the incentives are aligned in this project. That's why it's working. The incentives are
Yeah.
aligned. I have no reason to overcharge because well, I don't want to. My goals are to solve my problem. My problem isn't that I need more money. I could
Right.
use it if someone's got access to 100 grand or more, then they could be helpful. But otherwise, I'm not needing money. What I'm trying to solve is I need people to participate to the point where we can actually get enough people where I can travel around for a while until the algorithms that are created and or my own spiritual guidance tells me where to go, to the point where I actually end up geographically living next to my best friends.
Yeah, no, like I said, you're bridging the gap. I think that's amazing. I think there's quite a few people, even myself, when we first started 3 years ago, I started a map where I was having people list, like they can provide a hot meal, they can provide a bed overnight, they can provide, these services while they're passing through in case of emergency or whatever. I started that map 3 years ago, just trying to do what you're trying to do. And I think you're bridging two very, very separate worlds, but you're bridging them in a way that, like, the hip camp places have really blown up, that kind of use a similar, like kind of like business design, but you have such a more like rad purpose, which I'm super into. So that's great.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I'm glad that I got the chance early in this interview to explain the purpose, because the purpose is where the intent comes from. I guess the intent causes the outcome, and that's where the intent comes from. So the intent comes from, let's solve this problem. Let's assume everyone's free. They all have all their basic needs taken care of. They no longer need their neighbors to help them change their tire. They no longer need their job. They no longer need anybody for anything. Then what do they need? Can they really enjoy themselves with the AI robot on their phone? Or would they prefer to be with other, we can call them humans, living souls, others that are living, that look like them, and not only just look like them, ideally best friend quality, best friend material, like so similar there are no disagreements in your community for you to even, not that no disagreements, of course some of us are disagreeable, so there's going to be disagreements, but in terms of governance there would be no need for anything because everyone's on the same page. So for the most part they're all the same person. It's like they're your clone, and to explain a little bit more about where I think we are at in terms of the cosmic scale, or the like generations and generations, millennia, whatever. So being in the spa is different than being in the gym. But when you go to the gym, you're there for a purpose that is, to get swole or to exercise. And when you're in the spa, you're there to rejuvenate and to relax and to help your emotional being. Like you're working on a different aspect of yourself.
Sure.
So I think that slavery has been a place where slavery, and AKA hell as well, has been a place where we've been learning a lot about ourselves and growing a lot. And I don't say that hell is a bad thing. I say that neither is the gym a bad thing, but there's a time for the gym and there's a time where you've had enough and it's time to go create a heaven for yourself. So if you're hiking, you hike all day and then it's time to make a base camp, right? You're not going to be hiking anymore. After 6 p.m., when you're all trying to just enjoy yourselves and sleep and have a great time, you're not getting any higher up the mountain. Sorry, but that's not a bad thing. It's okay. There's a season for everything. So
Yep.
on a large scale, I think it's like we're to that point. And a lot of other people, you included, I have confidence they're going to help free everybody. So for me, freeing everybody isn't my purpose. My purpose is to build what they're going to want once they're free. And
Yep.
the process of doing that has made it so that working backwards from the end, you start at the solution and then find the question. That has found a lot of things that people will find interesting if they want to be free. If they want to free themselves, once I found the end goal and I started working backwards to where I'm at and where the world is at, turns out it's going to cost us, once I've paid for all the materials, it's going to cost us, I say tools, not materials. The materials to build it is going to be around $2,000 or $3,000 to build that 4,000 square feet.
That's like next to nothing anymore. I mean,
it's going to have water. It's going to be climate controlled, basically a tropical paradise. Any climate outside, it doesn't matter because you're basically underground. We're going to build walls 16 to 18 feet tall of dirt. And we're not going to do it the old way of small bags, like some people have seen those bag homes, or they've seen tires that everyone compounds and stuff.
oh yeah.
It's a lot of labor.
Yeah.
Instead, we get a material that can hold that much dirt, and it's just one large bag. And put up the bag, fill it with dirt, with a conveyor and big machinery. We're not messing around because we don't really have time for that and or desire to spend that much time putting effort into it. So I think it just keeps getting better. This design keeps getting better. So, but once we get to the 2,000 mark, I kind of don't care if it gets any better on the financial side. And once we get to like 12 days per greenhouse, I really don't care probably that much either. I mean, I'd love to get it down to 3 days, done in 3 days. But yeah, this is what we're doing. Big bags. They have these very strong materials for the road construction industry. And since they make so many roads, the prices are relatively cheap for these materials. So we're using those materials to make the bag and fill it. We're going to fill it with a conveyor and a tractor, and we're going to fill it with dirt. We're going to make long walls, 130 feet long, and then the greenhouse is going to be like 30 feet wide. And that's going to get you about 4,000 square feet, 10-foot thick dirt walls between you and your neighbor. And then the roof is just going to be a hanging plastic greenhouse sheet. So if it rains, it's going to be fine. We're going to put a gutter in the middle, but it won't have any posts in the middle. So you'll be able to park your RV inside. You'll be able to grow your garden inside. Permitting's easy because we're not really building anything. We're just filling big bags with dirt and then putting a greenhouse thing over it. And plus agriculture is easier. And eventually we're not going to worry about permitting. We're just going to have a big enough pull in the world that we just do what we're going to do, right? Buy the land, do what we're going to do. Also, religion, I grew up with some religion, and I also left religion, so I've seen both sides of the coin there. And religion is a pretty big deterrent for what my friend calls statists. But religion is a big deterrent for anyone that doesn't like weird people.
Yeah.
So it can also be a good repellent from people we don't want in our community. So also you don't have to pay sales tax even in their construct, right? Of course, I don't like their construct. I don't want to buy into their construct or use their construct, but finding something that is generally among all the nations of the earth, they don't really charge property taxes or mess with these people. The religious organizations kind of get a pass. The government's here, the religion's here, and they just give each other a pass. They're like, hey, we won't mess with you, you won't mess with us. So I could just call it church or the church, but that's where We Church comes in, is because We Church is the intention that I've laid out of what I want to happen. The organizations that are built out of that on the crypto side is Community DAO, DAO, Distributed Autonomous Organization. So Community DAO, I'm just going real simple with naming because I didn't know what to name it. So Community DAO is the one where they'll have the algorithm that they'll be focused on trying to organize people geographically. They will have some special assets so that they are able to give those people that follow the advice of the algorithm a 75% discount on their rent, which converts to you get to live in better areas, basically. Because we're going to have enough greenhouses for everyone, but some of them will be out in the desert and some of them will be in the mountains next to some really nice things. Either way, if you're next to the right people, who cares about the environment around you? But those ones will go for a higher price, and it's all going to be used points to pay for them. So basically, if you're supposed to be there according to Community DAO, then you don't have to spend as much of your points to reserve those areas because you get a 75% discount. So that's the incentive side of how Community DAO will kind of say, hey, if you don't already realize that being free is amazing and it's enhanced when you have good people around you, if you don't already realize that, then here's an incentive, right? An additional incentive, because really to me, that's my only incentive. And I'm throwing decades of my life at this and, my money at it. So to me, it's a large enough incentive on its own. But I know that people can be swayed by money, at least so far, they still can. At some point, they won't be swayed by money anymore. So it'll kind of be too late for any incentives. But it is what it is.
We're not there yet. No, I mean, we have so many people that live on the road that this would probably be really, really interesting for them to look into. It parks your RV inside of your greenhouse where you could grow your own food freely around other pseudo transient individuals and kind of comparing notes. And I know.
And I want to say for people that want to get into this and don't have 6 months to spend earning stake, the minimum stake amount, 1 stake equals 1 minute of labor. So you can buy other people's stake because we don't really have stake available right now, but because we haven't built the first greenhouse. We've built a greenhouse that's above ground, but that was just a temporary one for us to have a place to stay while we work and build the next ones. I still haven't gotten all the supplies from China to actually build the main ones. But what I was going to say is that people can start small. They could buy enough stake that they're earning points every month, and maybe it only amounts to 2 weeks per year, but it's 2 weeks per year that you can spend those points on staying somewhere, and you wouldn't have to spend money to stay there. And there would be a place for you, and it would be private, gated, your own 4,000 square foot greenhouse. And the only risk is you might lose your stake that you worked hard for. If you come work for 2 weeks, then you don't want to lose all that, but that's your deposit. That's the risk of taking responsibility for some asset that you only partially own,
Sure.
So yeah, you can start small. If anyone's worried about, I don't have 30 grand and I can't afford to go help for 6 months. Well, you can just buy 2 weeks worth. That's either work for 2 weeks or buy the 2 weeks. Someone else will work them, There's still some people that work for money. So yeah.
I'm one.
See?
I'm a whore for money, man.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
That's how we all were. That's how we all were. It's crazy what we've been through.
Yeah, I mean, I like to run the magazine because I'm autonomous in a whole lot of ways, but I'm still very much plugged in some other pretty significant ways. And just kind of like you said.
What? Let's go with the basic things that you're plugged into.
I work for the man. It's not really for the man. It's a not-for-profit company that works with public education, but I get a W-2. Like, I don't pay tax uh, as a general rule, but I'm still very much plugged in with a wage. I like what I
Yeah.
do, and I'm good at what I do, and I enjoy what I do. Um, but that's the very much plugged in kind of way.
Yeah. For me, that's similar. A similar concept of, for me, it's money. If you still need money, something's broken, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something's
100%.
not working. Something's
Yep.
not working in your life if you're still relying on the IMF to allow you to live,
Yep.
to allow you to exist. You must have money. And who creates money? Now, some of my friends, they create value, and that's what they feel they need. They don't need money, they need value. And then money is just they call it a transmitting utility or an instrument or a tool.
Yep.
I buy that. I agree with that. I also don't like slavery. So when I spend money, I've got this understanding that a lot of people are working for that money because they've got no other option.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they don't eat. And to them, to me, that's the same. Slavery, this is interesting. We can go down language hacking as well, but slavery by any other name is still slavery.
Yeah,
In
100%.
law, they use the word substance to denote the portion of whatever topic we're discussing. So if I have a can that's full of cat poop, it's sealed, and on the outside there's a label that says pears in light syrup. The substance is cat poop, no matter what label we put on it. And what we'll call it the Khazarian Mafia, have done, they're good at identity theft. That's something they're good at. We might become good at that too in some of our protection unions. But basically, they didn't just steal identities of people. They stole the identities of the substance and the words. If in 1949 there was a group that changed the name for gold, they changed that name to copper, and then they changed the name for copper, they changed it to gold, what would we know the difference now? How would we know? It would be hard for us to discuss gold and copper given that the names got swapped. And what could
Yeah.
we do about it? Language is one of the most basic, one of the basic components of how we run our world. Just like language in a computer, if you can't write the computer language, then maybe the computer programs don't work. Well, a lot of what we experience in the physical realm, I call it the physical reference plane. In the physical realm, a lot of the things we experience, we use language to describe them, and then language ends up playing a role in how we experience our lives. And those people hacked the language. They changed the labels for the substance. So now,
Mm-hmm.
if you go into a legal, like a law realm, you talk to a judge or an attorney, when you say United States, you might think one thing, and they might think another because they rewrote the definitions. So United States for the judge is not what you would see anywhere. If you went and talked to people on the street, if you went into Google Maps, if you went into any dictionary you've ever seen, that's not what they mean. What they
Yeah.
mean is DC, Puerto Rico, and like a few minor outlying islands. They do not mean everything, but they do mean it in the sense that they're lying to you and they want you to misunderstand. So they've already broken communication intentionally. So anyway, crazy side story. I call that language hacking because basically all it is you're hacking the language. But words are just labels for meanings, and then meanings are the relatively close to the substance of what is meant. the substance of the language. And intent is a very high substance. So the MDP is more dense plane, is the one where we would call, if God was sleeping and he was dreaming this whole experience that we have here in the physical reference plane, he would be sleeping in the MDP, the more dense plane. And if we use our imaginations to imagine something, if we imagine a mountain and then we move that mountain up and down 5 feet, the whole mountain, we imagine moving it up and down 5 feet. How difficult was that for us to do? Not difficult, because we're the gods. Our imagination is the LDP, less dense plane. And there can be many more dense planes and less dense planes, but the physical reference plane is the one we relate now with hydrogen, oxygen, things that are made up of the periodic table of elements for the physical reference plane. Intent is like a substance in the MDP, I believe. This is the way I'm modeling for now.
Sure.
At this time. So intent is a real thing. It's almost like an element on the periodic table where God exists.
Yep, I absolutely agree.
And it permeates into this realm the same way that we can move into our LDPs by most of language is LDP. Most of law is all LDP. It's all made up. None of it is physical reality. Physical reality, okay. This is a funny story. The people that, back in the day when people owned silver and gold, they would put it in a warehouse because they were too rich. They didn't have any way of storing and controlling all of it. So they would put it in a warehouse, but they could put it next to valuable art or whatever. So there was this thing called a warehouse receipt. If you had the warehouse receipt, it was almost like a hot title where you could just, if you had it, it was yours. Bearer bond or something similar, or like cash, you have the cash, it's yours. You can spend it. It's live. It's a hot item, okay? So the warehouse receipt was connected to the silver that was in storage. Well, some people broke into the warehouse and stole the silver. And so news comes to the people that, hey, your silver got stolen. And they said, they can't have stolen our silver. We have the warehouse receipts. How the fuck? How the fuck did we organize a world where the value that we care about isn't substantial? It is not substance. It isn't real.
That's wild.
Right now, if you grow a garden and you have a bunch of tomatoes and peaches in that garden, all the criminals in the world probably don't care about your garden or your peaches. You can just eat them. They don't fucking care. They'll care about Bitcoin, but they ain't going to eat Bitcoin. They ain't wiping their ass with Bitcoin. They're not masturbating with Bitcoin. They're not doing a damn thing with Bitcoin, but they care about it. They'll steal that shit. They'll spend their life and their life force to get it. It's all LDP crazy shit.
Yeah.
And we're so locked in. That's how we're locked into the matrix. We believe we need our identity. We believe we need that driver's license. It's in my fucking pocket too.
Yep.
Passport at least. And it's
Yep.
all fake. It's all fake. It's all freaking fake. Anyway, if we're a church, we can be weird. People will leave us alone in general. And we can believe what we want to believe. We can commune with our God. In my religion, or my belief about what religion should be, you could be religious about brushing your teeth. What would that mean?
I have an awesome smile.
It would mean you brush your teeth all the time. You're religious about eating breakfast. What does that mean? You do it consistently, right?
Yeah.
So I think, and I haven't done this, but I did, like the religion did come to me, right? Whatever we want to call my communion with God or whatever.
Yeah.
How I think things through. The ideal religion is editable, updatable, right? What are the bad things about religion? What's not good about religion that some of you guys have experienced? They're stuck in the past. They're not relevant today. When it's time for the world to change, they sometimes don't change because they just are so committed to their holy books. Well, their holy books don't update when the times change. You need your code to update, so you need your religion to update. Also, a good religion is not one that you get from someone else. Bad religion. You get your religion from you and your God. That's how you get it. You and your God commune, decide what you're going to do with your energy, your life force, and your time. And then you put it into your schedule to actually have that see, if I were to prioritize things, or say, okay, if I was to say how much I value something, if I say I value playing pickleball, I value it a lot, but then you look at my calendar and I say calendar, but you look at what I actually spend every second of my life doing, and in the past 3 years, I haven't played any pickleball. How much do I actually value pickleball compared to driving? I drive a lot. Do I value driving? Well, hopefully you line up your values to your actual energy output.
Right.
So that's what your religion is your schedule. It's like what you do with your time. And it's whatever holy book you decide to write between you and God, right? I don't think other prophets should be teaching you how to live your life. I think God should teach you how to live your life. Duh. Why not? Is there anyone else existent in the universe except for God, aka you?
Yeah, I think probably not.
There's not,
Well,
right?
yeah.
There's no one else.
Not so far.
Externalize your authority. Externalize your authority to someone else. Externalize your God to somewhere else, and then you've done what they say is idol worship. But that's what every religion does.
Yep.
They teach every religion that I've been around. I haven't been around many. Mormonism. That's how I was raised. Oof. But basically, there are truths that have been shared by ancient wise ones, but they're all bastardized when it comes to put in practice in a world where there are criminals.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm an autonomist also, because I mean, religion is ran by man. Man is flawed. So
religion is ran by criminals, and criminals are criminals.
Yeah, well, all of
but
that.
Okay. Yeah.
Criminals people are flawed. People have weaknesses. People have things that they don't deal with that end up, kind of being a problem for everybody else. That's just, everybody has that potential. Yeah. So, it's nice to have a community, but also still hang on to that self-reliance so that you're not giving away your autonomy for your community. And so many people, it's almost like an exchange. Like, you give us your autonomy, but you can stay here. And you're kind of doing none of that, which I think is really rad, because
I'm doing none of that, but problems can arise still, right? What I'm building, I haven't thought through saving every single community, but some communities will have badness in them.
Sure. Well, because there's people.
But hopefully I can find my community. My community is going to be great, right?
Yeah.
The people that I get along with, it's going to be great. And I think if the algorithm works properly, then people that are weird in one way will be with other people that are weird in the same way. And it's going to be rad. Like, I don't think anyone's going to hate it, So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think we see that at festivals too, where people kind of attract their own vibe, where people kind of start to congregate around the pods that are like-minded. You like to shoot bow and arrows when you go hiking or whatever. Like, you find other people that also want to do that. So I think that's perfect too, that people have that freedom to kind of explore many different communities. Several communities, while still kind of finding your like-mindeds, which is like every anarchist's dream is to like have the best of both worlds, a community, but still leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, and the way you get left alone is once you're free, people leave you alone. And then how did I take freedom that required money, or it required being a good investor, or it required learning a lot about the law or whatever? How did I take that freedom and say, I need 10 million people. I got to be able to make this attainable for a lot more people than just the few that can make it all the way to the top of the mountain or whatever, that can filter through all that shit and find themselves, oh yeah, I'm finally free. So what do we do to make them free quicker? What do we do? Also, that's a byproduct actually. The line of thinking was this: I need people to live mobile. How can I get people to live mobile when, if I invest in a homestead, like I really invest, not my money, but 6 years of my life in a homestead, am I going to want to leave that?
No, it's big. I mean, and
if I build my own house, I have done this twice, not the whole thing, but remodeled, right? I've put a lot of time and effort in. You get some emotional attachment. It's difficult to leave. So what else makes it difficult for people to live mobile? The investment they have, the attachment to their house, their job makes it difficult for them to just be mobile. A lot of people's jobs. Their family, I can't change that, but I sort of can. It's going to still help. Because if your family joins you, then you can surf the WeChurch sites together, you know. But family is a reason, and I can't guarantee that I can fix that. But I can fix a lot of things, like it's uncomfortable to have to move. But living mobile, you got to be able to move. So what do? Bring your house with you.
Yep.
Lower your expectations so you don't need a job anymore. And what I mean is, eat from your own garden that you grew by yourself with, you know, maybe some automation, some hydroponics, and some code you downloaded, and some Arduinos you put together, and some pumps, or permaculture, or whatever. But basically, you're not relying on anyone else for your basic needs. Then what happens is you have that autonomy that is also the freedom that's now believable and easy for people to see that, okay, yeah, after they spend like 3 weeks in one of these communities just as a visitor, they're going to say, okay, I could see how I really don't need all that stuff I have at home and all the liability that comes with it. I could just, you know, live here. I mean, utilities, we got it covered. It comes with it. Taxes comes with it. No worries. It's prepaid basically. Water, taxes, heating and air conditioning, food, it's there, you know. Now, when I say lower your expectations, you're not going to get some guy in Minnesota to go to work every day to make potato chips for you to eat if you're not relying on his slavery for you to live. You're going to have to make your own potato chips. You're going to have to grow your own potatoes. You're going to have to do some work. But in a world of trillionaires, which is kind of what I built this for, in a world where everyone's a trillionaire, no one's going to mow your lawn. It's going to cost you a fortune to get your neighbor, who's also a trillionaire, to come out and mow your lawn.
Yeah.
You're going to have to mow your own lawn or not have a lawn, right?
Yep.
Like, your basic needs are covered. You can buy anything you want, but you can't buy another man's time when he's a trillionaire. That's not going to happen. So in a world of trillionaires, you kind of have to do some stuff yourself, but community is something that I haven't experienced the need to no longer need human connection. That may come one day. One day we might say, hey, we need to just be happy with ourselves and we don't need to be reliant on any other human interaction. And that might be progress for the God in me, right? For now, though, this is just the next step up the ladder of experiencing this world, is get out of slavery and go do cool shit with people you like. And right now I'm trying to find the cool people that I like, and I know that it's just really, if I can solve it for myself, I might as well solve it for everyone. And this type of thing doesn't solve for just one person. So
Yeah.
we got to solve it for a lot of people for it to be useful for myself, to be useful for one. It's the internet, you know. You can't just get one internet connection and put it together and now you've got a computer and it's got an internet with one node on it. It's like, it's just a computer. That's not even an internet at that point, you know. You're not connected to a network. But if you get it large enough, then it's useful, and that's what we're doing. So anyway, people are welcome to the site. Site as in location. We're in Beaver, Utah right now. That's the first place because that's where I got a cheap house so that I could drive back and forth from the site, and I got some cheap land. So it's not a bad location in terms of for future. It's 40 minutes from a ski resort, and it's like 7 minutes from a town with grocery stores and gas stations and stuff. So it's not a bad location, but it is out in the middle of a field somewhere. And we built one greenhouse, and y'all are welcome to come and see. And once I get the supplies, we'll be needing more people to help build. And we're going to be using heavy machinery. I bought I bought 3 big scrapers, which I was told by the construction guys that was the fastest way to move dirt. So I bought scrapers. They fit like 15 yards of dirt in them, and it takes like 2 minutes to fill it. Then we're going to dump it near the conveyor and have someone with a skid steer dump dirt into the conveyor, and the conveyor is going to bring the dirt up to the top of the bag and dump it in. And then we're going to have someone pouring water down the middle so that it compacts the dirt so we don't have it settling over time. So we're gonna fill this. It's gonna be a cylinder bag next to a cylinder bag next to a cylinder bag with additional flat material so that the walls look flat, but they're basically gonna be built with a bunch of cylindrical, tall bags of strong polypropylene material, geotextile. And we're going to have a bunch of really tall, 10-foot thick dirt walls, and then we're going to put greenhouse fabric on top, or film on top. And it's going to use geothermal heating and cooling.
Right, with it being underground. Yeah.
If you dig 2 water wells instead of 1, most water wells will produce the same amount they'll accept. If you were to pour water into the hole, it would accept the same amount that you can pull out of it. So you dig 2 of them and you can just cycle the water from one to the next, and you can use that to cool your greenhouse further as necessary in the summer. Even though they're going to basically be underground, so they're not going to need as much. And you can put a shade cloth on top too. So we don't know. We haven't done all the testing. This is the first site that we're going to do and then see how it works. Once it's really, really good to go mainstream, then the plan is that open source the designs and tell people to do it in their own country. Then they would, working with us or not, they would get their sites built out, and then they would petition the blockchain, asset DAO or community DAO, to convert those assets to stake. And then the blockchain would then do that. It would say, okay, well, we will buy those assets from you that you built to spec. They look good. They look the same. They're basically this is a little side branch, but another thing about moving that's difficult is a change of scenery that is unwelcomed or unneeded. Mm-hmm. So the way to make it so that it's easier on your psyche to move is to make it so that when you move, you can put everything back in the same place as you wanted it before. So basically, if you move to the same unit, the only thing that changed was your geographic location and the neighbors next to you, but everything else is basically the same. That's easier on the psyche. That's my theory, okay? So that's making it easier for people to move. Anyway, so back to that. Another team of builders in another country, many countries hopefully, and many different cities and states do this. They buy land with or without our guidance and help, with or without our financial help. Buy land, build on it the way it's supposed to be built. Then they petition the blockchain and say, hey, blockchain, this is how many hours we put into this. We think it's worth this many hours worth of stake. And then the blockchain mints the stake. They just make it. They create it out of thin air. The blockchain creates stake, which is like a warehouse receipt, basically, creates out of thin air to buy those units. And those stake are attached to those units. So if someone burns that unit down or destroys it, then whoever owned that stake, their stake is at stake. It could be re-voted upon in the future, and someone could say, hey, I went to try and stay there, and it's like a real mess, and it's broken. Like, it's destroyed. It's not worth what the blockchain says it's worth, because when the blockchain first bought the units, it was worth a certain amount. So reappraising is something that would happen asynchronously in the future if it was ever voted to do so. But otherwise, there's not a whole lot of work to do once you own stake to maintain your unit. You just like let it do its thing, and it's going to get rented out to everyone else, and you're going to go rent out other people's. And maybe there will be pictures before and after whenever you move in and out, so that people can take responsibility for damage that happens. Anyway, that's all like Airbnb side shit. But important part is we might be able to solve it. It won't cost you very much. 6 months of labor to retire is fucking cheaper than I had to spend to retire. And you can basically live there with a tent or just bring your car, you know? Like, you don't even need an RV if it's never going to rain on you. Like, and you're never going to freeze. It's not going to rain on you. Your food is there. What else do you need? I need a cell phone. Okay, you're going to work a little bit every year so you can afford a cell phone. What else do you need? Basic needs. Bathroom, it's going to be there. Electricity, it's going to be there. Not a lot, but, you know, a few solar panels. Water, place to shit. It's going to be there. All of it.
That's everything. That's checking off the list.
Yeah,
I think that's fantastic. We aspire to get there. We're working our asses off so that we can get there. And we'd love to join some other people. We're going to make it
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to make it simple. And then we're going to make it believable too, because if people can't believe it with their eyes, basically, then it's hard for them to move into that world. But if we can give them like, hey, come stay for 3 weeks, or come stay for 1 week. It's an event that you'll pay so you can stay for a week or something. Then they come and they see how real it is, and they're like, I'm not leaving. Do I have to leave? We're like, no. And they're like, great. And the 1 week becomes a real big lie to many people, because they're like, I'm not staying for just a week. I'm here for good. I ain't leaving, right? So, but to make it believable, when you tell yourself you're going to do something for only a week, it's like, okay, I can do it. When you say you're going to do it forever, you're like, okay, give me a few months to prepare. It's like, no, dude, you'll be home in a week. Don't worry. Your job will still be there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh man, this has been really rad. It's really good to finally get to know you, because I know we run in a lot of the same circles. You were just on the Vonu Podcast, which I think that's in the link for our show description in the bottom. And you have so much going on. So where at in Utah are you right now?
Beaver. So we're an hour and a half north of St. George and about 3 hours south of Salt Lake.
Okay, yeah. We're actually going camping out there next weekend, not quite that far. But we're going to go climb the slot canyons this weekend. So we'll be close. Yeah.
This weekend, you're going to go slot canyoneering?
Yeah.
Shoot, that's cool.
I'm pretty excited. So
I want to go again.
Yeah, no, it's freaking gorgeous out there. So
I need to get more gear though. I've only gone with friends. I've never actually been the real main person. So with camping, I kind of rely on other people's expertise a little bit. But I do know canyoneering is super fun, and those slot canyons are cool. I've been through some of them, and I'd love to go again more.
Oh, they're gorgeous. Like I just like to crawl in there and just kind of hang out like a little muskrat. That's kind of my jam.
It's probably pretty good for grounding, having so many massive boulders around you, you know?
It's so funny that you say grounding, because the last time we went, we all went barefoot, and it was just like outstanding. So,
Well,
yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm happy to come back on other times. I'm on another episode, if you didn't see that one. So I've got more weird stuff to talk about. I say weird, it's just like I get passionate sometimes. Luckily, I didn't get crazy today.
No,
On the
love it.
second episode of Vonu, I think I got a little bit passionate, because that one I'm on episode 171 and 173. So anyway, if you want to discuss any of the other stuff here for your listeners, that's cool too. And if any of your listeners are interested in getting a hold of me, best way to find me is to come out here, because I'm a geography person. I like people to be like geographically close when possible. But here we are in technology land. I'm on Telegram at Rexated, REXATED, and basically everywhere else on that same handle. So, and I'm not on my phone very often.
Well, cool. Let's connect again on another show where we can talk a little bit more weird stuff. But I definitely wanted to make sure that We Church got some airtime, and your really rad kind of mobile housing community idea is really fantastic for me. I know there's quite a few people that watch RtA radio, and they're in RtA magazine as writers quite a bit, and they're all into living, rolling on the road, nomads, or even just kind of living in multiple places simultaneously. So that's fantastic. You want to tell our listeners a little bit more about you and where they can find you, any other places? Otherwise, I think we're going to call it.
I think that's about it. Like, I was just going to say, I'm not actually on my phone that much, so
that's fair.
You can try me on Telegram, but you might as well try me on a lot of the socials.
Okay.
And yeah, just try and get a hold of me if you'd like. And that's just for my own sanity. I stopped caring about notifications a long time ago, like a year and a half ago. I'd say I'm decently successful at not being attached to my phone, but I still use it all the time for like staring in Telegram groups and ordering stuff from Alibaba. At this point, I spend a lot of time talking to the suppliers. Yeah, I would also be happy to.
We will get some show links as to where you can find him at, and we will kind of get that going, and definitely have him back for some more information. Sorry, we ran out of time there. So hopefully we can get him back, and it was really rad to be back. And thank you guys for checking me out, RtA Radio. Check us out at rtamagazine.com. We've got a couple Telegram chats for magazine writers, and check us out on Facebook too. Otherwise, thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate everybody that kind of supported this whole thing. And our guest, thank you so much to Rex and his really rad project, We Church. Not really so much on social media, y'all, but he's in Utah right now. I know exactly where he's at. So if you guys are kind of in that little corner area of Utah, go check him out for sure. Thanks so much for watching, and big love to you guys.